Hey, it is Unit 6, Step 1, our first video of the unit, and I'm talking to you about Paper 1, the Guided Literary Analysis. And we're going to use poetry to help us understand how to write a good Paper 1. The essential questions that are at the top of your packet are here, and these are the questions we're going to go over the course of the unit. And what we're talking about in this video right now is this first question: what is Paper 1, the Guided Literary Analysis? So let's get started. Let's dig deep. First of all, the pie chart that we've been looking at all year. We have finally moved to the last piece of the pie. You did the internal assessment in 11th grade, the higher level essay first semester. Paper 2 we just finished preparing for, although we will have a study session right before the test. And now we are moving into Paper 1, the Guided Literary Analysis. And you can see here it's worth 35% of your overall IB score. And this is what we're going to spend all of our time in Unit 6 working on. It's the one assessment that is worth the most. That's one way to describe it, right? And so it's worth spending some sheltered time on and being really intentional as we prepare for the Paper 1 exam. What is the Paper 1 exam? It's a guided literary analysis, which is a close, detailed examination of a piece of literature. And this is what we might consider in IB to be the foundation of everything else we do, because it's in a close, detailed examination of a piece of literature that we are looking very carefully at analysis, evaluation, and interpretation. Some might say this is the bread and butter of English literary analysis for IB higher level. It includes close reading, and we want you to spend a good amount of time just reading the texts that will be on the Paper 1 exam. And in fact, IB gives you 15-minute reading time that they sort of add to the 2-hour and 15-minute test. So it's altogether a 2.5-hour exam with this 15 minutes of reading. It's important to slowly, carefully read, reread, and reread some more the text that you're going to be analyzing. It also involves literary appreciation, and so you need to read the text like a literary analyst, looking for all of the interesting examples of language that you can find and how they work together to create meaning. You'll need to read between the lines, infer, and use that big brain on your shoulders to get to a larger so what or interpretation of the text. And it does also involve an understanding of the effects of literary features. That's the evaluation. So first you have to find the literary features, analyze them by taking each one apart carefully, looking at what's interesting about them, but then looking at the thoughts and feelings that they create in the reader. All right, well, what is it exactly going to be? It's going to be 2 texts. These will be short texts. They might be complete texts or excerpted texts. And you are going to be asked to write a separate essay on each one of them. These are going to be pieces you will have never seen before. They will not be famous. You probably will never have heard of the author. They do that intentionally to try to make the playing level fair for each student. And you're going to instead have to analyze, evaluate, and interpret the piece as it is, isolated, just the black words on the white page, and not use any contextual resources or outside sources to make sense of the passages. Each text will have a guiding question, which will ask students to consider a technical or formal aspect of the passage. So they will give you that question to sort of help guide you along, help you look for something worth writing your essay on. So each text will have that separate guiding question at the bottom. Guiding questions are on a technical or formal aspect, as I just said. Well, what the heck does that mean? First of all, we have to remember that we do have 4 genres or 4 forms of literature according to IB: drama, poetry, prose nonfiction, and prose fiction. Now, the 2 texts that will be on paper 1 could be from any of these 4 genres. And in fact, they will be 2 different genres. Last year, they had song lyrics, and song lyrics, I suppose, fit under poetry, don't they? And the guiding question was a question about imagery and how the imagery works in the song lyrics. We had a poem the year before, and there was another question on imagery in that, for that text. There was a nonfiction work the year before last, and it asked a question about descriptive language and how the descriptive language created a certain atmosphere in that text. And then last year there was also a novel, an excerpt of a novel, and that guiding question asked about how tension was created between characters. So those are the kinds of questions that you'll get, the kinds of things they're going to be asking, and that's what they mean when they say technical or formal aspect. You're going to be assessed on paper 1 on your ability to show you understand the passage or poem through well-supported interpretation. So you'll be using text to support your interpretation. It'll be short quotes from the passage to support any assertion you make about the meaning. You're also going to be assessed on your ability to identify language, usage, structure, technique, and style. These are authorial choices or aspects of language or literary features. We use a lot of different terms when we talk about these, but it is the tools of the author at their hand, things that can be boiled down to word choice, diction, imagery, the creation or evocation of senses, tone, the attitude of the speaker, or structure, how it's organized. You'll also be expected to discuss the effects that arise from these authors' choices, and that, of course, is evaluation. And then finally, you'll be expected to present your ideas in a formally organized and coherently developed piece of writing. That's a lot to ask for 2.5 hours for you to do this on 2 different extracts, 2 different passages, you know, a separate essay on each. All right, you will be graded on the same 4 criteria that we've been seeing all year: understanding and interpretation, analysis and evaluation, focus and organization, and your own use of language. Unit 6 is designed to help prepare you to do well on the guided literary analysis. We've just talked about what it actually is, and now we need to hit the rest of those essential questions in this unit. The next video is going to be about formalism as a literary lens and how it's going to help you write a guided literary analysis. And then we will talk about poetry and what makes it different from other literary genres and especially helpful to prepare for the paper 1 exam. We're going to talk specifically about form and structure and how they inform meaning when analyzing text in Unit 6. And this is always central. How can I analyze, evaluate, and interpret text I've never seen before? since that is the nature of the Paper 1 exam. Okay, so all of what we do in Unit 6 is going to be designed to help us answer these questions. We're going back to what we've been doing all along, the foundation, right? Analyzing, evaluating, and interpreting. And so we'll remind ourselves what DITS is, diction, imagery, tone, and structure, and how these authorial choices are the building blocks of literature, how we will look for them in texts we will have never seen before, and how we'll use formalism as a literary lens to help us make sense of these short works in isolation, in short or in under exam conditions. All right, so this is the introduction to what is Paper 1. The next video is all going to be about formalism, this literary lens. Welcome to Unit 6.